All right, welcome back, pancake folks. I am your stack of cakes for the second half of track two. Sorry, Tanya, I'm trying not to laugh off of you laughing. It's always fun doing these, seeing folks that I haven't seen in a while. Last time I saw Tanya was at a black tie gala a couple of years ago. In fact, I think you were even my guest on my ticket, one of my tickets, weren't you?
Yep,
Yeah, it's a
I had a
small
lot of
world,
fun.
isn't it?
Hmm.
So I don't want to take any more of your time. We hack purple, she hacks purple. Alice and Bob in application security. Check out the book.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to talk about building security champions today and urban gardening. So I'm super into gardening or even farming at this point, but let me tell you more about what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to talk about how to scale your security team and your security program via security champions. And we're going to talk about what they are and how you can build them up from like a regular employee to a person that advocates for security all the time. And we're going to talk about how and why you should grow your own food. Okay, but first, security champions. So we are going to follow this recipe. The recipe is recruit, engage, teach, recognize, and reward them, and do not stop. Okay, so I'm done. I can go home. Just kidding. There's more. Okay, so who am I? So I'm Tanya, and I am a giant nerd on the internet. And we do these slides to try to tell you that we are qualified to give our own talk. So hopefully you're like, she seems pretty good. We'll watch the rest of this. She probably has good photos of like things she grew. And yes, it's true. There's going to be flowers and yummy food. So stick with me. Okay, so the problem, there's not enough just security professionals in general. And I specialize in the security of software, so application security. And like this, you all know this problem. I don't need to detail it. We just don't have enough people who are qualified and experienced to do every job. And so one of the solutions for this is security champions. So I'm going to give you a super formal definition, then I'm going to give you the Tanya plain language definition. So super formal. A security champion is a member of a team that takes on the responsibility of acting as the primary advocate for security within the team and acting as a first line of defense for security issues within that team. So that sounds almost like a daunting task. Well, I like to think of security champions as the person who's super excited about security. They're curious. They're the most interested. They're the ones that ask the questions. They're the ones that read the book or show up at the CTF or show up at the local conference or the local meetup. They're the ones who are there every time, who always want to know more. That is your person that you want to turn into a champion. So what is a champion? Like really, like what do they do? So first of all, they're your communicator. So this person will deliver security messages so in my case, they'll deliver messages to the dev team, teaching, sharing, and helping. But this could be like privacy messages and security messages to the sales team or to the marketing team or to like the people that drive around and deliver stuff. Security is part of every single person's job, and giving them information about how to do their jobs more securely is always good. And so this person's also your point of contact. So they will deliver messages back to the security team and kind of keep you up to date and tell you what's going on. They'll often alert you to things that are actually really serious way before your tools would have picked it up if you have a good relationship. And this person is your advocate. And by your advocate, I mean the advocate of the security team. And if you mix security and privacy, which a lot of companies do when they do a security champions program, that means they'll be your advocate for privacy as well. And so they perform security work for their own team, but with your help. And they advocate for security. And so imagine if someone on your team next to you says, hey, we're probably not supposed to do that. Remember, it's a lot different than if Tanya, the big bad security person, comes to your desk and they're like, nah, 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 hand slap. It's just not the same as if your peer does it, a person that's on your team versus someone else from a faraway land called security team. So let's build up our security champions. So you don't just find them, right? You recruit them, you engage them, you teach them, recognize, you reward, and you continue to do so. You don't stop. That is a key part of this recipe. So we're going to go through this recipe pretty quickly because I want to talk to you about gardening too. So first, recruit. I like the big muscle. So the first rule in recruiting is you don't volunteer people. You're not like, you're late to the meeting. Haha, you're a security champion now. Instead, you want to attract the right people. And so we're going to talk about attracting people. And the number 2 most important rule is ensure that the manager is on board. Because if you recruit someone as a security champion and then their manager is like, what are you doing? Stop wasting so much time with that. Then the person is forced to choose between doing security, what you want, and what their boss wants. And that person decides if they have a job or not. And that's not a cool place to put someone. So you want managers on board. How do we recruit people? So we ask for volunteers instead of appointing people because consent is cool. We provide opportunities for them to reveal themselves. So all the things in the engagement section, which is next, is an opportunity to reveal themselves. It sounds silly, but you can add to your email signature that you're looking. I add things all the time to my email signature, and I get so many different responses. So like, I'm looking for security champions. Is this you? My friend Lucas did it, and he had 4 people respond, and 2 of them became champions, all just from like 2 seconds changing his email signature. So to attract them or recruit them, you could use lunch and learns, you could have security trainings, you could, anyone that asks a lot of questions or always shows up, that person's probably ripe to be a security champion. And if you adopt this mantra of it's my job as a security team to enable you to do your job securely, I serve you. When we have an attitude like that, we're more likely, you get more honey, you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. When we start the conversation from that place, it is way easier to recruit. So at this point, you should have like a handful of people that are interested. Then we go on to engagement, and then they'll tell other people. And then you will recruit more people. And if you do this right, everything they say is going to be good. So we want to engage our champions. What does engage mean? Occupy, attract, or involve. So I want to occupy and attract and involve them in the security of our organization and the security activities that their team needs to do. And I also want to participate or become involved with them. They are my champs. I am their fearless leader. The security team is feeding them, enabling them, and propping them up to be awesome. And so we're in it together. So for engaging, bring them on a security incident. Share appropriate secrets with them. I went somewhere once and my boss deputized everyone and made them promise not to tell. And then he spilled all these secrets and it got a lot of people really riled up and on our side. Let them see everything first, like new tools, new policies, new information, like anything, they always get the sneak peek. Create a mailing list and send them cool new stuff. Meet with them once every single month, each one of them, and have a list of questions like, what are you working on? Can I help you? What do you need? Brace yourself for bad news, because once they start to trust you, they're going to tell you things. And this is mostly a message for past Tanya, who wears her feelings on her face. I'm really bad at lying. And I'll just be like, so brace yourself, because eventually they'll trust you and they will tell you secrets. And you need to hold their trust and go do the thing that they need from you. Team building events, let them meet each other, and even invite them to join local security communities. So for instance, anywhere you work, invite everyone to come to PancakeSCon. This is a free event where they could learn lots of cool stuff, or just pick out one talk that you think really would benefit people from your team and be like, come at noon, because Tanya's going to talk about security champions and we're starting a security champion program, and I think it'd be really good for you to see. So then you want to teach them. And I could go on and on forever and ever. So I've tried to cut this so it's a lot shorter. It used to be like, okay, so what are you going to teach your champs? The most important thing about this is only what they need to know, nothing more. I have seen so many security champion programs where they have these software developers and they're teaching them tons of like network hacking and like all this cool OSINT stuff. And they're like, let's show them Metasploit. I'm like, we don't want them to do any of that at work. Why are you showing them that? Why don't you instead give them secure coding training and secure design and all the things that they do at work, so that they can be rock stars at securing the applications they build? Like, they're the person with all the answers and they look really awesome. Teaching them tons of things that are off topic, and they have an entire job to do. that they have to be an expert at already. Waste their time. The other thing that's really important to teach them is what you need, expect, and want from them. It needs to be super clear from day one what you expect. Because sometimes people are like, well, I made them champions, and then they should know that they should tell me if they see something. They should know. No, can't assume that they read your minds. Turns out most of us actually can't read minds. I can't. I try. I fail. And so we have to tell them exactly what we want. So let's say I want you to take the results from the scanner when they come in on Monday, and I want you to go over them with your team by Thursday, and then send which ones you're going to fix in this release and which ones are going in the backlog. Or I want you to come to me if there's ever a security question you can't answer and you still need help. I'm here for you. I'm your person. Okay, topics. So if you have devs, secure coding. If you have software architects, secure design and secure architecture. No matter what, you teach them their policies. Do not send them a link to a policy that's 25 pages long and be like, yeah, read this, teach yourself. No, that is a recipe for disaster. You want to have like a workshop about it where you talk about it and discuss the things and how they would apply it, because then they're going to have to go and teach it and enforce it on their teams. So they need to know it inside and out. And tooling. Any tool that's security related that you expect them to use, give them training. It can be training you made. I usually just make the training myself. And I know you're like, oh, she gives training for a living, so she's really good at that. But I sucked at the beginning. Just to be clear, I was very fearful of speaking in front of other humans, and it has worn off over time. And also, they were really nice to me. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to reward and recognize them. And so this might seem a bit confusing, and you might be thinking like, reward and recognize, aren't those the same thing? Okay, I am the type of person, don't tell the people that pay me, but being recognized makes me feel so good. If my boss says, Tanya, you did a great job, it's like I melt inside. I'm so happy. I could probably be paid less, but if I have lots of praise, I'd be so happy and it's okay. Versus some people, they're like, that praise is nice, but those are just words. If I really meant something to you, you would reward me. You would give me something of monetary value that shows like legitimately that that this praise means something. And so a lot of people fit into one boat or the other, like love languages. So if you know about the love languages, there's 5 love languages, but the other 3 are wicked inappropriate at work. Touching, nope. So those are the 2 that were totally okay to do at work, is recognizing awesome things that the people do and giving them work appropriate compliments and rewarding them with work appropriate gifts. So, and it's really important to do both, because if you just do one, you're kind of letting a whole bunch of people go. So let's do this. So it's important to recognize your champions. We really want them to know that they're doing a good job. We don't want them to think, oh, I'm trying really hard to do 2 jobs. No one appreciates me, and all I get is 1 paycheck. We don't want them to feel like this kitty, right? Like, look at the kitty working for. So how can we recognize them? You can create a certificate and put it on their wall. I have seen this at many places. If you look behind me, I actually have like a bunch of certificates on my wall. Are they super official, like legally binding things? No. But did it make me feel super good when I got them? Yes, it did. You can recognize them in front of their peers. So this could be like a special virtual background. This could be a star next to their name on your team chat. There's lots of different ways, but to make it clear, this person is a champion and they're special to the security team. Always put a note in their performance review and put as much detail, positive detail as you can. Like, they reported this bug and they stopped this incident from growing into whatever. And without them, we wouldn't have found it for days. And like, their contribution saved thousands of dollars or hundreds of hours, or from us filling data. The more detail you do, the more it means to them. Tell their boss every single big thing that they do and send them an email so they know that you noticed. I had a boss once, and I was telling him I was quitting and going to another team, and he's like, why? You're my best employee. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, like literally every day there's an email from some team saying you did something amazing for them. For 6 months, he'd never told me that he'd never said I did a good job ever. And I'd switched to another team because the manager kept saying I was doing a good job, even though I wasn't even on his team. That boss was nicer. Okay, reward your champions. Reinforce good behavior instead of punishing bad behavior. This is the thing that works with a lot of people. Like, I mean, if someone does something really grave and awful, you may have to dismiss them. But generally, we want to reinforce good behavior with positive reinforcement. So anything that's even remotely reasonable, reward them. Like anything. Like you showed up to 3 lunch and learns in a row, whoop, you get an I'm a security champion coffee mug. So you can give them a security gift. This is like double whammy of awesome because they feel good and you're tricking them into learning more security stuff. Yes. So like books, videos, training, a ticket to a CTF, like Pancake on CTF. Giving them your time and attention is a reward. When I started like being the senior tech for dev teams, I read a lot of books about management and leadership because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Just because I'm good at coding doesn't mean I'm good at managing. And also I could be like a bit intense and direct at times. And so I wanted to like be softer and be a type of boss I would like to have. So I learned a lot. And one of the things it said to do is if someone comes to your desk, don't just keep typing or whatever. Like, you know, when you finish the thing you're doing, turn your body physically and look at their face. Do not look at your damn phone. Don't hold your phone. Put your phone down, whatever you're doing, and you look at them. It makes them know that they matter. And that might sound really ridiculous, but like with a security person, like they know our time is short. And when you make time for one-on-one with them because they've asked for it, it makes them know they matter to you. Help them with more than just security. My friend Ray from Hello Secure, he used to be a software architect. So he's like, yeah, I'll just come architect it with you, whatever, I'll help. Like, I'm your guy. And like that got him into lots of meetings, meeting more devs and finding more champions. And then they knew that they could rely on him if they needed him. And so he built an amazing champions program. And he has a blog about it on hellasecure.com. Anyway, it's awesome. You should check it out. Let them see cool new stuff first. Let them help you make decisions because not only does it make them feel like they matter, but they know tons of stuff. Want their opinion. Anything else that you can think of to make them feel rewarded, do it. It's worth it. Lastly, the hardest step. This is the hardest step. Don't stop. I get, so I do like a lot of little one-off call consulting things through this company called IANS Research. And tons of calls I get, they're like, yeah, we did like, 6 events in 3 months and then we ran out of steam. And that was like 2 years ago. And like, we want to like restart our program. Meanwhile, the champions are like, where'd they go? What did I do wrong? And then we make a plan to like be more consistent, spread their stuff out over longer periods of time so they don't run out of steam. So when in doubt, over communicate. If you do not communicate regularly, it will disappear quickly. So you want to, whenever possible, even if you just send an email to say like, hey, it's December, and you know how December is because every major religion has an amazing holiday during this month. And then like kids have time off school and there's all these other things happening. So we're not going to meet this month, but I just want you to know that we are meeting in January. We're going to have a meeting about blah. And like, here's like a podcast I listened to that's really cool that I thought you might like. And that's it. It's just the touch base that you're still there. You're still listening. So other tips. So don't let it slip. Be consistent. Even if you just meet with them once a month to check in and see if they need you, even if you just phone, like, hey, we haven't talked in a while. Just wanted to see if you need anything. I'm really sorry I got caught up in this project. What's going on? Some champions will need more of your time than others, and some of them, I don't want to say they're going to be a dud, but they're going to do exactly the minimum amount. Still way better than no champion. If you have dropped your schedule, pick it back up. Even if you just send them an email to tell them that you are going to pick it back up. Totally good enough. But culture is a practice, like yoga. So basically you can't just do yoga once in January. And then in April, you're like, oh, why am I so stiff? I did yoga like 4 months ago. I should feel fine. You have to do it over and over again to make it a practice. And culture is a practice. So it must be forced all the time. And it can really fall apart fast on you. Like you don't realize it, and 6 months have gone by. You're just busy. And then your program doesn't exist. So what is the recipe that we followed? We're awesome. We're giving high fives because we did it. And now we are on to urban gardening. So, so I thought that I had, actually, let me go back. So I thought that I had a black thumb. So I do lots of gardening now. And if you follow me on Twitter, I share pictures from my garden often. But when I started it, I sucked really bad. Everything I grew died. I tried with my mom. Everything died. We both really sucked because we're both from urban places where like we lived in apartment buildings and we'd never had ground before, like earth before. We'd always lived in these concrete jungles. And so I became good at it, and so did she. But I'm going to tell you my story, not my mom's story, because it's not here. But basically, I was really not good at it. I tried a bunch of times. I was convinced I was no good. And then, so I grew these. I grew these beautiful tomatoes and this beautiful watermelon. I actually grew 5 watermelons. And I live in Canada. It's really hard to grow melons. So I'm very proud of myself. So how I started. So I actually left work for several weeks at one point because I had burnout. So basically, a fellow employee had a break with reality. She had some mental illness and she attacked me. And then I got very anxious and then went for several weeks off work because it's kind of hard not to be afraid that someone might attack you when literally a person attacked you and they're still in the office because they got a doctor's note that they're okay. And also all the men hid while it was happening and no one helped you. I had to call security myself. Yeah, so I quit that place. But first I took 11 weeks off, or 11 or 8 weeks off work. And I was like, well, I'm going to read books on how to recover from burnout because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before. And so the main thing it said to get better, like go see a counselor, of course, but they're like, get exercise, get lots of sun, and get grounded. And by that, they meant literally touch dirt. So I was like, I'm an overachiever. How can I combine these? I'm like, I'm going to landscape my entire property, even though I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to get tons of great workouts every day. I'm going to get tons of sun, and I'm going to be really dirty and touch all the dirt. Like, I have nothing to do. I'm really bad at being bored. So I was like, I know what I'll do. And so my first year, I managed to grow around 10-ish tomatoes, and they never turned red. They just were green. And I was like, I suck, I'm awful. And then I looked at recipes on the internet and I sliced the tomatoes, I barbecued them. And then I also had grown, I managed to grow like only 2 or 3 hot peppers. That was it from all the things I planted. And so I put those in and I put some lime and some garlic. And then I had homemade salsa. And then I gave it to all my friends and they were like, this is amazing. What are you growing next year? And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to grow stuff next year. I'm going to try this again. And so before I knew it, I was growing all sorts of things and just like learning a bit at a time. And so people are like, wow, you're in good shape. What do you do? I'm like, oh, I go to the gym as in I just garden. I like lift dirt and watermelons and make raised beds and cut wood. And it might sound like a ridiculous thing, but yeah, so this summer I grew 5 watermelons and here is one of them. I actually have gotten to the point a few years ago where I couldn't eat everything. So I started sharing it with all my neighbors, share with all my friends and family. And I actually even have started to try to donate them so that I can give like even more food. And so I have great relationships with my neighbors. If you ask to borrow a tool, they're like, sure, because they know that I'm going to show up with a grocery bag full of like 5,000 vegetables at some point and be like, I can't eat this, please take this. And so unlike what Homer Simpson said, you do make friends with salad. I've done it. So this is one single day of me picking flowers. So I decided to grow flowers this year. I honestly thought it was like a waste of dirt because quite frankly, like you can't eat them. So I'm like, what good are they? But people encouraged me and they're like, you should really grow flowers. You'll like it. And so then I gave a bouquet of flowers to this woman named Diane across the street. Her face when I gave them to her. She was so touched. I'm like, I'm growing flowers forever, growing flowers till I die. That was amazing. It's like every person I go and visit, I bring them flowers and they're like, oh, that's so sweet. I'm like, yes, score. I am distributing joy. You get free food, exercise, and lots of vitamin D, and your property value can go up. And so you can even grow things in your balcony. You can grow things inside a window. So I'm in Canada and like the odds are pretty against us. So I've moved to Vancouver Island where it's easier, but like I am so stubborn. I was growing things in Ottawa. I was like, I don't care. And so you can grow something in all places, except for maybe the Arctic. So you can have an herb garden in your window. And if you're worried the window's going to have coldness, there's like this plastic saran wrap type stuff you can get at like the dollar store for like $5, and you put it around the window and it keeps the cold in that space, and then it's way warmer. You can put small plants in a planter that rests on your balcony railing. And I have grown like tons of herbs. Can't grow something with deep roots, so you're not going to get squash out of there. But there's tons of little things, like you could grow hot peppers that way. My little brother does it. You can dig up. So my first property, only the front, where I was growing it, the front got sunlight and the back really didn't. So ended up with a lot of green tomatoes and a lot of things that didn't get all the way ripe with the short growing season and lots of shade. So I actually just dug up my entire front yard, which because I lived right downtown, I was like post stamp, and I grew food and people complimented me. I was worried people would be like, who's that weirdo? People loved it. If you live in a cold environment, you can do raised beds for longer growing seasons. My beds were 1 meter above the ground of dirt, and that meant I had like 4 to 6 weeks extra growing time, which in Canada really counts. If you live in a place where there's lots of deer, you could put chicken wire around it so that the deer don't come and say, oh, thanks for the veggies, Tanya, and then eat everything. If you don't have a lot of water, you can collect rainwater and then reuse it. Or you can even, if you use a natural laundry soap, you can take the water after your washing machine is done and it'll go out, and then you can water your garden with it. And if you use natural soap, it'll actually act as like a bug repellent, and then you're reusing your water. Basically, you need earth, water, and sun, plus some seeds to have food, health, and joy. And so, money. So last summer, or the summer before last, my neighbors said, so you're growing so much food and you keep giving it to us for free. You should make a farm stand. And I was like, I'm not going to make a farm. Like, that's ridiculous. I'll just give it to you for free. They're like, no, we want to buy it. We want to support you, because I've made 17 raised beds and three homemade greenhouses. My sweetheart and I have built them together. So I built the first bunch by myself, then we met, and then we've been building things together. And so my sweetheart made this for me as a gift for my birthday. And this is all reclaimed wood. So all of it is from skids that we found at the side of the road, and then we finished it, and that's our farm stand. So this year I just put stuff on the edge of the farm stand, put a box that said like, this is how much things cost, please pay. We made over $500. Homemade food, homegrown food, it tastes better. It really does. Anyone that has like grabbed a strawberry or a raspberry like that's ripe from the garden and eaten it, it's like eating 100 strawberries worth of flavor from the grocery store. They taste like styrofoam. Our tomatoes, they're glorious. They're so incredible. And it's also actually more healthy for you. So I live in Canada, and like our growing season is very short. So we have to import a lot of our food. So a lot of you might not be aware of it. Our food gets picked way before it's ripe. It goes on a truck, and then right when it gets to Canada, they gas it, try to force it to become ripe. Super gross. And so all of the produce kind of sucks in Canada for like half the year. And so that's why I started the greenhouses, so that I could have food all year. And so this is like 2/3 of my backyard. So on the left, you can see my first greenhouse, and you can't see, there's a little gazebo, and on the right, there's actually another great big greenhouse. And so this is these are like the biggest raised beds we have. And like we have strawberries, we have garlic. Garlic is so easy to grow. It's so easy. You just take the little cloves that are left that you didn't eat, and then, October, November, just plop them in the ground. And then you wait until, July, August, and then you pick them out. That's it. And then you have garlic. It's awesome. So yeah, this is a hobby that I really enjoy. And for me, it's not work. People are like, wow, that looks like a lot of work. And I'm like, well, you go to the gym and you lift weights and like you run and you do all of this. I move a bunch of dirt. I dig and turn the dirt. Put stuff in the compost. It gets a lot less gross if you're doing it right. Anyway, I want you to consider growing food. So here is a thought. Find a place to plant something. It can be small. It can be literally just like a small cup with some dirt in it by the window. Get some seeds and plant them. If you can, add good stuff to the soil, not just water. If you can, put some compost or some fertilizer. If you can't, that's okay. But if you can, it's even better. More stuff will grow and it'll grow bigger and faster. Check on it once in a while. And when it looks good, yank it out and eat it. I know that sounds really simple, but it's literally what I do. If you want to take it to the next level, you can pick out the weeds. You don't have to though. It's great. So like it will let your plants that you're trying to grow have as much space as possible to get as big and awesome as possible. But if you don't pick them out, stuff will still grow and you can still eat it. That's the joke. Your garden doesn't have to look perfect to be awesome and delicious. And with that, I'm going to give you some resources, and then I think we have time for questions, which is really impressive because usually I go over time. So, resources. So, I have an online community that is free. It is called the We Hack Purple Community, and we have online streams, and we have articles and videos, and basically lots of awesome humans that you can talk to and meet about security. I have a podcast, which is just about to so we just started filming the next season. Our first episodes with Adam Showstack. We've already recorded. I just got to get my butt around to editing it and releasing it. And he talks about, what is threat modeling and how to do it cheap, easy, and fast. Awesome books. So I'm biased, but I think my book's awesome. But also all of these books are about DevOps, and I love DevOps. Yes. And resources, me. So I have my own blog now on shehackspurple.ca, but then I have a work blog at wehackpurple.com. I have a YouTube, I do Twitter, I have a newsletter. Even my book has its own website now. It doesn't do very much, but anyway. And I hope all of you spend your life doing strange things with weird people, because to me, that is the best type of life you can have. So thank you very, very much. And are there any questions?
So some of the questions that came up are around seeds, because most folks are used to working with like the seedlings where something is already at a certain level. I put it in some dirt, kind of half the work's done.
Yeah.
What kind of advice do you have with working with seeds?
Okay, so if you want to pick seeds, find a place that sells seeds that are specific for where you live. So I live on the West Coast, and so there is a company called West Coast Seeds. Everything they grow, like everything they send grows really well because it's only for our area. Does that make sense? And so so I have done this where I've got seeds from Africa and then they don't grow. Want to know why? Because I'm not in Africa. They kind of have better weather. And so even though like I try because I have a greenhouse and stuff, but at first just get seeds that are for your area. If you want to buy seedlings, that's totally okay. It's not cheating. I do that. So I'll put like seeds everywhere and then some of them don't come up. That's fine. I go get seedlings and fill that part in. Also, you should be aware, this is a thing that has happened to me. Sometimes seeds don't come up. I plant something else and then the things come up later. Or like I turn the soil for the next thing and I'm like, why are there nasturtiums and peas growing everywhere? So right now, one of my greenhouses has like nasturtiums and peas like taking over because I had planted them. They didn't grow. And then I had moved and rotated some of the dirt and turned it. And then I have like just flowers and peas everywhere right now. So just be aware that they might come up later.
How are Bertha and Enterprise doing?
Okay, so Bertha is the first greenhouse that we built, and she's doing really well. There's like a big tree over her, so my partner and I spent a day like trimming the tree. That's going really well. That's actually where all the peas and nasturtiums are all over the place. The Enterprise is doing well. However, a certain someone slipped in the mud while she was moving dirt, and I put a hole in the plastic with my wheelbarrow. So we have to get a patch kit, but it's fine. We're tough and we can do it. But so we're about to plant a thing there. And then our third one is called the nursery. And so we just do seedlings in there. So we're actually just about to plant new seedlings because we just like took out and ate all the plants that we had. So yeah, all of my greenhouses are doing very well. And we're getting a patch kit soon. And it's just a hole in one layer of plastic. The other layer is still good, but you can't have holes in your greenhouse.
Where do you get your dahlia bulbs?
Oh, okay. So I got dahlia bulbs all over the place. It was weird. So I had a friend that was obsessed with dahlias and she ordered some. And then she thought some of them got a disease. So she gave them to me in pots. But then the disease went away when they were at my house. And it turned out she just has too much moisture where she lives and she was watering them too much. But anyway, she's like, just keep them. So I had those. Then I went to Costco. I kid you not, and they had a sale on dahlia bulbs. So I bought a bag of those. And then there's a farm down the street from me. But this year, what I did is I dug all the dahlia bulbs up and I'm going to split them in the spring so that I have like a ridiculous number of dahlias. They multiply. So they have tubers, not seeds, for anyone that doesn't know. So it looks like a big fat root, but with a bunch of different pieces. And so when the spring comes, if you've picked them out, if they get a little sprout on the end, you can cut them and they'll be their own legit plant. And so I'm pretty excited to do that because I had a ton of flowers, like so many flowers. It was ridiculous. Trust me.
So going back to the yoga metaphor, switching gears, right? So back in the security champions half. There's the other challenge with the yoga metaphor, right? If I'm not doing yoga, then I'm going to get stiff later on. But what if I've been doing yoga the wrong way? So how do I implement a security champions program where, say, the culture was already volunteering people to be a part of it?
Oh, yeah. So so if I was a new employee going in there, I would probably say, I'd probably make a new plan for the champions, try to make it sound super exciting and good, meet with them, and then say, so this is your chance to rotate out if you don't want to be a champion anymore, like you've done your time, want to go do something else, or like here's the exciting stuff we have coming. And I hope that a bunch of them would stay, and then I would re-recruit new ones. Because I don't know about you if you've ever been like told you have to do something. Like I had to go on the workplace safety commission thing once because like I was the newest employee and they're just like, you have to be in the workplace safety thing. And they would take me on these dumb tours and it's like, oh, you have a plant on that shelf that's unsafe, you have to take it down. I'm like, leave her plant alone. So I really wasn't very good at it and I really wasn't very like enthused by it. And eventually they're like, you don't even like being on it. I'm like, my boss said I had to. And they're like, you're dismissed. And I was like, yes. So you don't want a champion like that. You want a champion that's like really curious and interested because they're going to do way, way more for you. So I would let them leave, but first try to make it sound awesome so that some of them stay.
All right, last question, and then I'm afraid we're going to have to leave you alone. I do the dad jokes thing. I can't help it. It's natural. Do you use cold frames in Canada?
What's a cold frame?
I don't know. I figured you might know what a cold frame is. I'm gonna quick Google it while we're here. What is a cold frame?
I do sometimes put like a lid on things. So if you know that it's gonna frost that night, if you can cover your garden. So a lot of people here, what they do is they'll have a raised bed and then they have like a garden lid that's plastic and metal and they lift it up all day. And then when the sun goes down, they close all of them so that the cold doesn't hurt the plants because it can dip below zero and then all the plants are, except kale. Kale's like, I'm kale, I don't care. Seriously, kale, like it snowed here and kale's just like, whatever, I'm kale. I'm never leaving you. Yeah.
I feel like it does the same thing to your digestive system.
I don't know, I like kale, but it's not for everyone.
Tanya, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been great.